Hello and welcome back to this, the third part in our tutorial series looking at light fog in Renderman Studio. In the first two episodes of this tutorial we had a look at simulating light fog using Renderman's standard plausible lights, some light blockers and Maya's volume fog. Okay? In this tutorial, we'll actually look at simulating volume fog using a shader. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate my volume fog here, my fluid, duplicate it, hide the initial one, and I'm going to call this shader based. Okay. Let's rename it here as well. Should have renamed it in the shape nodes, right? Shader based. Okay, so we can actually see what this is. And let's turn off the contents method so that it will be empty. So the contents density 0. Previous render looked like this. Our new render looks like this. It's rather empty. What I'll be doing is building up a shader network within Slim to put fog back into this. So let's open up Slim. Slim, as we know, to launch the button here with the S. Launches Slim. Okay. And we're always at a premium here with space, so excuse me while I jiggle things around. In our network view in Slim, I'm going to right click and get nothing because I haven't got a new palette. So I need a palette to store my shaders in. Always first thing is new palette. Select the palette which I'll be working in. Now when I right click, I can add a volume. And the volume which I'm working with here is the base volume. This is the most appropriate for this particular exercise. I have a base volume selected. I select in Maya. I right click and I attach within Slim. And now if I go back to our IT window and put this always on top, which I should have on a shortcut key by now, and re-render, we'll see we're getting something happening in the corner of our volume box, our fluid shape. Nothing particularly strong yet though. Now the reason for that will be down to the density scale. So if I drop my density scale down to, I know this from a bit of practice, down to about 23 or so, and I re-render, it is something to tweak backwards and forwards and see what works. We're actually getting quite a significant amount of fogging within our fluid shape. So it's a nicely rendered way of working. And it gives us extra benefits that we can actually use within Slim to build up interesting looking variations on the fog. Now the most simple thing we can do to increase the realism of the fog is to put something in to drive the density. So clicking on our little widget here and connect, and we're just going to go for a Brownian. Lots of different things we could hook in there, but Brownian will do us for the moment. Selecting Brownian, and I'm just going to rescale this so it's going from minus to plus. I'm going to rescale it so it fills up the entire section of graph. Okay, it's having a bit of a think. And let's re-render. So you can see already we're getting a bit of smokiness, a bit of billowing within our volume fog, which is cool. Now we can play around with a couple of things here. One thing which I like to do is Brownian, I'm going to increase the octaves, which is the level of detail that it'll actually get to. So let's go to say 6 octaves. So if you imagine 6 different wavelengths applied on top of each other. Decrease the lacunarity, which is the distance between the different wavelengths, the way somebody's described to me once. So let's drop that down to 1. And let's see the frequency set to 3, for instance. And let's try re-rendering. Okay, and you can see we're getting a kind of a very smoky effect up here, falling away, creating an interesting effect. Tweaking with these, playing with the gain will also have some effect on us, so if I change that to 0.8, greater areas light and dark. So if I re-render this, almost something like a nebula. So I'll compare some of these together. We'll just have a look at it in one moment when it finishes rendering. Okay, so let's compare some of these. Let's go to our window and we'll launch. Okay, so this is the difference between some of the looks we're getting here. And with this in actual fact, I think I'll drop this back down to 1. And I'll decrease the linearity down to 0.5. Okay, let's just try re-rendering this. There's a lot of tweaking can be done with all of these kind of effects. Okay, in actual fact, just hold on 1 second. I'll just do another quick render with some new settings here. Okay, I'm back again here. I've just been tweaking the linearity to get a little bit more detail within this. It may be hard for you to see in the screen capture, but if you try it yourself, you'll be able to see there's a little bit more detail here. If I was to shift the gain, possibly up to 1, oh, it should be 1 rather than 0.1. Yeah, you'll see that it is actually much more freckly here. So if I re-rendered this, it'll give us more of a smoky kind of feel. Okay, we'll leave the shader as it stands at the moment, and I'll show you one last thing which will be very useful to you in terms of render time for these volume shaded materials, volume shaded lights. Okay, so finished with Slim, playing with these settings here. If you look up the documentation, I'll come back to them at some point. Okay, now when we're working with these materials here, if I was to go in here and I'll zoom in so I'm actually very, very close to the scene, and I'm going to go and render. What happens is the render tends to slow down dramatically. It gets incredibly slow, and this is taking, I'm just going to see what time it is now, 3:44 p.m. I'm going to put you on pause for a second while it renders through. Okay, and we're back in the room. Let's just see how we're going for time here. Almost finished. It's taken between 3 and 4 minutes to actually render. Still not quite finished. Now we can improve on this, and we can reduce the amount of noise within the scene here. What we need to do is apply a little bit of coding to it. I know it's verified. It's something which is very simple. So I discovered this myself from looking at the Renderman forums. Okay, here's the forum, and there's an article specifically about volume fog within the forum. And we have a little note here from Chris Scoville talking about a scene which he's prepared, which is very similar to the scenes I've been working with here. And inserting a pre-shaped mel into the fluid container actually helps dramatically. So I'm going to copy this piece of text. So Control, copy. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go back into Maya and Renderman. With the fluid container selected, you can see we still have our standard Renderman attributes here from when we copied it. So go to Attributes, Renderman, Manage Attributes. And from the optional attributes down here, I'm going to look for a pre-shape mel. Pre-shape mel, add. And we'll see we now have space for a pre-shape mel here. This is a little tiny bit of code which is telling Maya what to do, Renderman what to do, when it's actually going to the point of rendering. So let me just paste this in. So it's going to dice our scene here with a min length of 0.1. Okay, for this object. Now if we watch how quickly this renders, we'll see a dramatic improvement both in quality and time. Takes a second to kick off. So the time now is 3:48. And where it was taking between 3 and 4 minutes is now taking less than a minute. So this is almost like a little piece of magic. Also, there are improvements in the quality. We'll have a look at the difference in quality between these. We'll compare them in 1 second when it's finished rendering. And we're just about done, and that was probably about 45 seconds. So let's compare. Let's go to Windows and it. There's our previous, slightly noisier, and this, which has, it's a better looking final image apart from anything else. So in this exercise we've looked at using slim shaders with fluid volumes, tweaking the settings, and also putting in a little bit of pre-shape mel to improve both the speed, performance, and the final quality of renders of volumetrics. I hope you found this interesting. We will be back with more volumetrics in the near future, and some more exercises coming your way shortly. So thank you again.